I'd like you to have your foldable out. I'm going to have you finish out the rotation section so that tomorrow when you come to class we can refer back to it. So if you would go ahead and open up that part. I'm going to give a brief definition at the top, and then these shortcuts we will use the most often of the three. So our brief definition here would be a rotation turns a figure the same number of degrees. So turns a figure the same number of degrees around a fixed point. Around a fixed point. Zoom in a little. It's kind of a glare on that. A rotation, let me read that to you again. A rotation turns a figure the same number of degrees around a fixed point. Let me put a piece of paper behind here, see if that'll make it a little bit better. There we go, that shows that better. Okay, there are going to be three very important shortcuts that we're going to use. The first shortcut will be a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise. Okay. The second one will be a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. 90-degree counterclockwise. And then the final one that we will write down is a 180-degree rotation. Now I'm not going to say clockwise or counterclockwise because it doesn't matter. So let me talk about coordinate plane for just a minute. Let's say I have an ordered pair right here. If I'm going to go 90 degrees, I'm going to make a quarter of a turn. So if you think about here, 90 degrees would be a quarter of a turn. So if I'm going clockwise, I'm moving in this direction. So that would be clockwise. I'm just going to write the word clock. If I'm going to go counterclockwise, I'm going to go the opposite way. So I'm going to move this direction. So I'm going to write counterclockwise for that. And 180 is exactly halfway in between. So if I go 180 degrees clockwise, it's the same as counterclockwise. So there's not a distinction on that one. All right, so my shortcut is going to be like what we wrote the other day. We're going to start out with, for every point at x, y, and then it's going to have a p prime. So for a 90-degree clockwise rotation, it will look like this. So if I start out with p, comma, or p parentheses x, comma, y, when I do a 90-degree clockwise rotation, p prime is going to look like this. The letters will switch, but then the y will turn negative. So it will look like this. My y will come to my x position, but my x, when it switches to my y position, becomes negative. So it's going to be y, comma, negative x. Okay? On a counterclockwise, so for every point P, when I do a 90-degree counterclockwise, these are still switching, so it's still going to be yx, but instead of my x over here being negative, my y will turn negative. So this is one way that I'll try to have you remember it, is the clockwise versus counter, they switch. The first one is negative x, the second one is negative y. Now the 180-degree rotation will look like this. So for every point x, y, they're not going to switch, but they are both going to turn negative. So it's going to say negative x, negative y. Okay, so let's finish this up. I want you to bring this back to class tomorrow, and we will then be able to practice with this going forward.